Hello, hope you all are doing well and that you've had a good first week in the course. I'm here in my super high-tech recording studio, which involves sitting my laptop on a cardboard box on top of my couch. So not the best lighting, but we work with what we've got. So I've been enjoying getting to know you a bit through your journals and your discussion posts. And I wanted to talk about what we have coming up this week and some reading and writing strategies to help you on your way. So first of all, we are working on our first essay assignment this week, which is the ad evaluation. I know some of you are already working on it. I've gotten a few questions from some of you. So with this project, what we're doing is finding an advertisement, and it needs to be a still ad, not a video, okay? So something like you would find in a magazine or a newspaper. And it's important that it's an advertisement, so don't go to a product's website and pull the page where you order it or anything like that. It needs to be an advertisement. One of the things that we're doing is looking at how people try to get their audiences in. That's something that's very important when we talk about writing. And I encourage you, as we get started with this course, to think about advertising as a way of selling ideas, which is what we're trying to do in our writing. We're trying to get our reader to invest in our ideas, to agree with us. So we're trying to sell. So one of the things I'm asking you to do is to look at how advertisers address their audiences and how they try to sell those ideas. So that's really what we're going to be doing with this particular essay. And then once we've gotten comfortable with that, we'll apply that to writing. But advertising is something that we're comfortable with, all right? We see it all the time. So I wanted us to start work with advertisements before we jump into working with articles and essays and things of that nature. Let me pull up my assignment here so that I can refer to it while I talk to you about it. So what you're supposed to do, of course, is first find that advertisement. And the first two things I ask you to do are to describe it and analyze it. So when you describe it, you want to make sure that someone who's not looking at your ad would still get a clear picture of what that advertisement looks like. So think about how you would need to tell me about it if I couldn't see the ad. And then in your analysis, what you're looking for is to figure out who this ad is targeting. And you need to be specific. For instance, if you're looking at a cosmetics ad, don't just say it's targeting women. What kind of women? What age is it targeting? What race or other demographics can you tell that it's targeting? And what in the ad shows that to you? Don't just go with your knowledge of the product. Think about what in that ad identifies who the audience is. And then I ask you to think about what besides the product is being sold, and I ask you to think about that both literally and figuratively. So sometimes, there's something being sold along with it. For instance, with video game systems, a lot of times they're also selling particular games along with that. But also, advertisers try to sell us things figuratively. You all have probably seen the cleaning commercials where, the mom has just gotten her house all cleaned up and everything looks good, and then the kids come through and make a mess, and she's got her bounty paper towel so everything's okay, and she wipes it up, and there's this idea that if you have that product, you can be a calm, peaceful person who lives a happier life. We all know that's not really true, right? But that's one of the ways that advertisers try to draw us in to get us to buy their product. I also asked you who the advertiser wants you to think he or she is. Advertisers and companies want us to feel like they're on our side. They're really out to get our money. They're really out to sell a product. Now, I know there are a lot of people out there who are genuinely good and want to take good care of their consumers. But at the end of the day, the object of the ad is to get us to buy. So think about what sort of a relationship the advertiser is trying to build. And think about the appeal. There are lots of different appeals that are used in advertising. You'll see ads that use humor, you'll see ads that use sex appeal, you'll see ads that appeal to our desire to save money. So these are all things to look at as you describe and analyze the ad. So you'll also notice that I've only asked you really for 2 paragraphs. We're doing this essay a few pieces at a time, so that gives you a chance to get comfortable instead of having to draft a full-blown essay in the first few days of the course. And this way I can give you some feedback, and then you can use that feedback as you work on the rest of your essay. So that's essentially where we are with the ad evaluation this week. And after you turn that in on Tuesday, I'll get feedback to you as quickly as I can. I know some of you have already turned it in, so I'll get those graded as quickly as possible so that you can move on to the next piece of the project. And then what you'll do when you've gotten that feedback and you're ready to move forward, you will add an evaluation to the end of it. That's going to serve as your conclusion, and basically you'll just address whether this ad is successful and why or why not that is. And I'm going to ask you to just construct a very simple introduction and take a stab at a thesis statement. Those aren't things that we've gone over yet, but I want to give you a chance just to try it. And that's, if you'll look at the rubric, you'll notice that's a very tiny part of the grade. I think it's only 5 points for your introduction and your thesis statement. So I just want to see you give it a try, and we'll tackle those things in greater detail in the coming weeks. So some other things I wanted to talk about, if advertising is writing, then we need to think of ourselves as consumers or buyers when we're reading. And some of you cited some trouble with reading when you were writing your journals, and it's really common. I think we've all had the experience of trying to read for an assignment, but maybe we get through 5 or 6 pages and we realize we don't remember anything we've read, or we're falling to sleep, and it's really hard to stay engaged. And there are some different ways that we can combat this. I always encourage students to take notes when they're reading. That's something that helps me tremendously. I write in the margins of my books. I know some of you want to sell them back. So there are some very small post-it notes that exist for that reason. Or you can take notes in your notebook. It's also good if you're reading something that you have trouble understanding to stop yourself and do some paraphrasing of individual paragraphs or sections at the end. If you can put the author's ideas in your own words, then you truly understand them. And if not, you can go back and ask yourself where the problems are, where you're having questions about what it is that they're writing. And another thing is, don't feel like you have to do all of your reading at one time. I know a lot of us set aside a big chunk of time to try to knock out our schoolwork. We have to wait till the kids go to bed or till we get home from work or whatever that is. But it's okay to do 15 minutes here, stop, work on another task. Just make sure that you take a couple notes, or that you have something there to jog your memory so you don't have to start from scratch each time. Your text will also give you some other pointers on how to be a good active reader. If all else fails, read out loud. You have to then process it as you read it and as you hear it, which adds another level and will help you remember more about what it is that you're reading. So the last thing I wanted to talk about are a few sentence structure issues as you get started with your essay writing. I didn't mark up journals for any grammar or sentence errors or anything like that. But those are still things that we need to pay attention to. So the 2 biggest problem areas that I see for students in English 111 are sentence fragments and run-ons. So fragments are sentences that are, for whatever reason, incomplete. It may be that they are missing a verb, it may be that they are missing a subject, or it may be that they are some sort of a dependent clause, meaning that they have to lean on another sentence in order to have a full idea. So to give you an example, if I say Bob left, that is a complete sentence. We've got a subject, we've got a verb, and we've got a complete idea. We know that Bob left. There are some other things we don't know, but that idea is complete. We know that Bob has gone. He is not here anymore. But then I can add the word after to the beginning of the sentence and end up with after Bob left. Suddenly we don't have a complete thought anymore. And I tell you this to bring to your attention that whether a sentence is complete or not doesn't really have anything to do with how long it is. It involves the components that are there. So keep that in mind. Another problem, of course, is run-ons. And the biggest problem I see with run-ons are comma splices, which is when students will put 2 sentences together with just a comma to connect them. Commas have to take a coordinating conjunction with them if they're going to hold 2 sentences together. You may have heard these referred to as fanboys: for, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. So make sure that if you do put 2 sentences together with a comma, that you've got a proper coordinating conjunction there as well. You can also use semicolons to connect sentences, or you can use a semicolon, a conjunctive adverb, and a comma. So if I wanted to use a word like however or therefore, I could put a semicolon, that word, then a comma, and then my second sentence. There's some help with that in your text and in some of the resources that I've posted on the site. So if you know you have trouble with that, or if you see me commenting on that in your drafts, that's something to get some help with. You can also get help with that through the Writing Center or the Online Writing Lab. We'll talk a little bit about commas too coming up, and there's a Writing and Reading Center mini session on comma usage as well. One thing I'll mention, don't separate your subject from your verb with a comma. I see sometimes people doing that a lot when they have a very large subject at the beginning of the sentence and sometimes feel like they need a pause. So remember that we don't just use commas where we feel that we need a pause, but there are some rules there that we have to follow. So those were a few things that I wanted to talk about this week. This video is a little bit longer than my usual ones, and I apologize for that. Thanks for sticking through it. If you have questions about your essays, of course, send me emails. Y'all are doing well with that already. I've had a lot of communication in these first few days of classes. I'm still working on your journals. I'll get those back to you as quickly as I can, and those of you who are already working on your ad description and analysis, I'll get those graded and turned around soon, so that I know a lot of people want to work ahead if they can. So I don't typically get grading done ahead, but with a summer course with this quick pace, I'm trying really hard to be accommodating with that. So I hope you all have a great weekend. If you have any questions, as always, please send me an email, and I will be back with another video for you soon. Take care.